Petri, and today I'll be talking about Vex, which is not only a really interesting mage, but she is also a really brave try from Riot designers because she has a shirt, unlike some other addictions lately. Anyways, let's have a look what she can do. If you're talking about runes, Vex already has two pretty solid standard builds. First one is this electrocute build, which since she has a lot of ways to damage enemies from far away pretty consistently with continuous CC, well, slow and the fear. You have pretty easy way of triggering your electrocute, and I think that it might be really useful into matchups where uh, you need your opponent to get low in the early levels because you need him not to be able to engage onto you. So that is the only reason I would take this build. Obviously, once the game starts going into late game, this rune becomes really powerful. And that is pretty much, well, not powerful, but it's better than the other one you will be going through. And it's just to delete some squishy targets, which Vex is not great at, and this helps her. For that reason, you will be taking Taste of Blood since the other two are not that great for Vex. Eyeball Collection because you want to have as high stats as possible. And here it depends. You usually will want to go for Ultimate Hunter. Or you can take Ravenous Hunter, although I don't think that it's that useful, so Ultimate Hunter is, in my opinion, the best option. And for secondary tree, you definitely want to go Mana Flow and Transcendence, or you can replace it with Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace. And you will usually be taking this build if you know that there are gonna be long drawn out fights where you will utilize Presence of Mind more. And this one is better because it grants you the mana earlier in the game and you can pretty much keep poking in the lane. And obviously you will be taking Transcendence, or if you feel that you don't want the ability haste, that you don't need the ability haste that much, which I think Vex does, you can possibly go for Scorch, but Transcendence is just better. And for small runes, you will be taking, uh, definitely will be taking Attack Speed as your first one for triggering Electrocute more easily, and Adaptive Force and Armor or Magic Resist. Armor will probably be more common since you want to play Vex into champions with dash more than into immobile champions. Anyways, this is the first rune build. The other one is going to be building with Arcane Comet, which utilizes Vex damage at long range with her Q and possible E, and allows you to get enemies slow enough during the laning phase that engaging on them with ultimate is really easy and safe. Again, you'll be taking Mana Follow Band, which is even better in this build because you are going to be attacking them really often. And Transcendence and Scorch. Scorch can be replaced with Gathering Storm, but if you are trying to play for a late game, the Electrocute build is better. So Scorch for a more damage in lane is preferable in my opinion. And for secondary build, you can again go ahead and get Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace, although they are not that good in this build. So usually what will end up happening is that you will take Biscuits and Cosmic Insight. So you can pretty much build standard poking champion. And again, you can go for attack speed, or in this build, attack speed usually only helps with farming with this rune page, so you can go ahead and take Adaptive Force instead. But that is going to be everything for runes. I will see you with everything else in the game. Alright, so for starters, again, summoner spells, flash is not even debatable, and then you can go for Ignite, Exhaust, or TP. I personally have not found my favorite yet. Each of these has their use. I usually tend to go for Ignite if I'm basically if enemy team has some form of really strong healing on their team, I go for Ignite. Otherwise, I would recommend TP because you have an easy way to going to other lanes, and while your ultimate is really long range, it's not that powerful, so you can TP to other lanes and pretty much help with ganks or counter ganks. Ignite is if you think that you can either win lane easily, for example, you're playing against champion that you counter, or if you know that the your laner may play a bit recklessly and you have an easy way of killing him with the Ignite, obviously. Anyways, for items, you got, again, pretty simple options. You want to go for the Run Ring and health pots. A reason for that is that uh, Vex is not that there's not that high chance that you will get kill in the early game, meaning that Dark Seal is not that preferable, and obviously the only other option is going for Corrupting Potion, and again you're not gonna be utilizing that much. So yeah, go for the Run String, and that's pretty much everything for that. Anyways, after that, you want to start building your mythic item, and she has some nice options. Again, uh, basically, it's gonna be Leandris, even though this is really only in the games where enemy team is extremely tanky. They have 3 tanks, possibly more, which I don't think will happen. But if they have some really tanky champions like Cho'Gath, what do we say? Cho'Gath, some Galio on mid, even though Galio is usually gonna be the champion you're gonna be banning. And then let's say Sejuani jungle, for for example. You want to go for Leandris, it is gonna be working really well for you, considering that you have the long range which you can poke. Other item you want to go for is Ludens. That's on the exact opposite. If enemy has some squishy carries that you want to get rid of, usually only AD carries, or mid laner, for example, like assassins, this is also kinda good item. You want to go for Luden's Tempest, again, with your long range, it's easy to trigger it. And lastly, against champions that are trying to be engaging and stick up to you, you want to go for Everfrost, which I think is basically most versatile out of these three, because it adds up to your CC and that is really great for Vex. Although most of the time it will end up with Luden Tempest being what you're playing because of the damage output. After that, for boots you have again 2 options, either Sorcerer Shoes or Ionian Boots of Lucidity. Oh my goodness, I'm terrible today. Uh, I would recommend Sorcerer Shoes. While having shorter cooldowns is really nice for Vex, you won't need it that much because you are still trying to deal damage. And considering, well, okay, if you are only if you are the only source of AP in your team, you definitely want to go sorcerers. Otherwise, it depends on you. If you want to be throwing out your Qs really often, go ahead and buy Ionians. Otherwise, sorcerers are the easiest and, in my opinion, best option. And after that, you will be trying to build your Cosmic Drive really soon. Reason for that is that you want to be kind of mobile because yes, you do have your ultimate, but other than that, having this increased tankiness is really nice for Vex. You can and want to get it early. Another item you want to get pretty early is obviously going to be Rabandon. You can, okay, Rabandon you can get even later in the game, but if you look at it now, the damage you can get from this item is insane on every champion. On Vex, it's really great since you have a lot of resets, a lot of abilities you can use in one fight. Then, obviously, if you are going for Leandries, you can build Demonic Embrace, because you will just have insane amounts of burn from one ability. Other great items you want to get extremely early, before the Abandon, obviously, is going to be Zonias. If they have a lot of AD, you obviously want to get Seeker's Arm Guard even before the laning phase ends. If they have something like Zed or any other troop assassin, you want to get Stopwatch. What is great about Zonias is that if you have them, you can pretty much roleplay Fiddlesticks, where you are into the enemy team, then W, and then Zonias because you will die if you will stay there alone. But that's just one thing. You definitely want Zonias on Vex. And other than that, if enemy team has some dangerous abilities, you can go for Banshee's Veil. If you need magic penetration, obviously Void Staff, which again, you will be getting that pretty often. But healing is everybody in this season, so Morelnomicon is usually what you're gonna be building. And that's it. Now quickly for abilities. So, first off, Vex passive. Uh, first part of it called Doom. So every 25 to 16 seconds, everything scales with level. Uh, your next basic ability will fear the enemies and just interrupt dashes. It goes from 0 to 0.75 fear to 1.5 seconds, as you can see. And you can see that it's already on this little bar down here, or you can also you can see it on the abilities down here when they are ready. They change color. This is mostly for enemies. Anyways, uh, the second part is that every time enemy dashes or uses any kind of mobility other than increased movement speed, they are marked with gloom. They have to dash in this circle that you can see around Vex, and after that you are able to deal additional damage with basic attacks and abilities, which, well, with your Q and W. And that's pretty much her passive. Also, when you do get this is how Gloom works, and when you do get it, you get 25% of your Doom back. Meaning that if you have a champion that dashes a lot, you will be fearing them and interrupting those dashes more often. And it's her passive. Because of this, she is really good against champions that obviously are using a lot of mobility and are kind of dependent on that. Yes, Suo mains have been really exact against this thing because they kind of need to use their E really often, and it's big part of Yasuo's identity. And Vex being able to deal tremendous amounts of damage even without a cooldown to them from very far range is just kind of strong against these champions. Because of this, you usually want to play Vex into team that has a lot of dashes because otherwise you're losing fair amount of your strength. Anyways, uh, since we're talking about auto attacks, like there's really good ones The travel time is really fast, so she has quite nice time farming. But rest of the abilities. First we got Q, which is a long range ability. You can see the hitbox is it moves slow at the start with wide hitbox, then it speeds up at the end and moves fast. It's a great ability. It, as I said, can trigger your gloom on enemies, and it has really short cooldown, meaning that you will be maxing this first because it's really strong, has nice options, and what can I say? It's a damaging ability that you can use even to protect other teammates because of the long range. Another thing, because of the slower travel time, you can have really nice combos with other abilities. Anyways, then we got Vex's W, which I would recommend to get on level 3, unless you are playing against assassin that wants to go in level 2. For example, someone like, let's say, Silas, you can usually try this, even though obviously on level 3 he becomes stronger and has better options, but I've seen Silas do this. Or even better example is Talon, who on level 2 always goes in. So you cause damage in the circle around you and get a shield. Because this triggers your passive, it also means that if you damage an enemy, you will pretty much get safe if you get dropped on. For example, Pantheons who are trying to kill you, anything that has this one engage, you can remove with your W, so you are really safe. You also get a shield, so you can get rid of some of the damage that would follow up. And that is pretty much Rex's W because of the shield and the safety it provides, which not many mages have. You want to get this maxed out second. And lastly, E, which is a ability that it's an area of effect. The longer from you it goes, the bigger the effect is, but also the slower it activates. You'll throw this sphere. When it grows to the full size, it slows enemy champions by 50% and deals the damage. Again, it can trigger Groom, so you have a nice way of damaging them. But as I said, the further it travels, uh, it is used. So, for example, if you use it on top of yourself, it goes out instantly. If you use it far away, it takes some time. It takes some time. Oh my goodness! And another important stuff, unlike Q and W, this does not consume gloom, but instead it applies it to enemies, meaning that you can get the bonus of your passive even against targets that are not dashing. And lastly, we got Vex's ultimate. It's a quite long range. It starts at the range of, let's say, it's really comparable to Akshan ultimate, where at the start it is just around the corners of your screen, and it can go out really far. Again, it's a long range skill shot. When you fire it and it hits the first enemy, you can recast it to then transport towards the enemy and deal pretty much increased damage to them. When you kill the enemy within the 6 seconds, you will be able to recast this ability again. So Vex has nice mobility and can chase down targets really easily. But it has quite long cooldown on level 1, so because it's really important for Vex, because otherwise she is extremely mobile and W is only way of her surviving something. So you need to make sure that you don't miss it. If you do, just try to trade it for a flash or something, because If you miss this ability, you lose a lot of your potential. And that's pretty much it. One thing to say is that once you do use it on an enemy, you are you will be following them with something like Akali E or Lee Sin, Lee Sin's Q. You are just going towards them. So make sure that you don't drop into something you don't want to drop in. Uh, for the combos, it's gonna be really simple. You have nice options. On level 1, you can obviously go for the typical auto attack Q auto attack to trigger your electrocute. After that, you have some better options to say. Uh, One quick thing, you usually want to start fighting enemy when your passive is up, or uh, it is going to be coming up really shortly. The easiest thing to do is to E group of enemies if they are. It usually want to stay away from fights unless there's some low target. Then you want to R in and get utility of your W and ultimate, obviously. But usually want to stay in the backline, and you will be trying to E enemy and then Q. And because of the Q's slow travel time, you can deal damage with your passive Q and E in quick succession, just making sure that E goes first. What you want to do is drop your E and Q, and you can pretty much get your passive back instantly. Other options which you can do is obviously, as I was saying before, you want to R in, W, and then E, Q. The follow-up does not matter that much. The important part is getting in and fearing enemies, meaning that you can engage some fights. Some other nice things you can do is using your R, then Qing, Eing, Ring in, and Wing. It is extremely bursty, and you usually will be using this only when you feel safe, and then using Zonias, because you will deal lots of damage, but you will drop everything you have on every ability you have, and you need your team to be near so they can finish enemies off. And yeah, that's pretty much it for combos. For laning, as I was saying, you usually want to play safe. You have nice wave control and can pretty much push it if enemies tries to drop you into under your tower and enable you to farm. But you can also push the wave. You usually want to keep the wave on your side of the map, because while you can escape, you usually don't have that much going for you if you are alone. So if you kill an enemy or they just recalled, you want to push the wave. And if you got your resources, you want to go ahead and start roaming, usually to bot lane where enemies that you are usually going to be able to kill will be. And that is how you will get your utility. You are trying to stay safe, getting those keys to fear enemies that will engage the fight. Once you see enemy that is low, you want to R on them and start dealing massive damage with your W, because you are in the middle of team fight. You need to be careful, like can die pretty easily, and when you are going in, be sure that you definitely have your passive up. For matchups, obviously, you don't have to worry about assassins with dashes that much, because while they do kill you really easily, unless they commit fully and just try to go for simple combo, like for example the Talon you are talking about. Your fear disrupts the dashes, so again, I'm gonna be talking about Talon a lot, as I see. You can disrupt his Q, meaning that he does not get to you, and you can get the bonus damage from him dashing. Meaning that you kind of are a counter to assassins, except not fully. Uh, oth- things you have problem with are, well, things you have problem with are other long range mages. You don't see him often, but if you go against a Zerat, he does have longer range than Vex and can poke her down more easily than she can poke down him. Meaning that you usually want to get rid of champions that would uh, outpoke you. Other champions are that are really dangerous are, for example, Cassiopeia, because she does not have any dashes. She is really mobile, and while she does not have any dashes, you do, and she can disrupt them just as well as you can. Meaning that she is one of the most dangerous matchups because she kind of, just kind of does what you do better. She has also much more sustain, meaning that you usually want to stay away from her or ban her. And that is going to be everything I can tell you about Vex for now. I hope I said something that you did not know or at least found interesting, and I will see you in the next video. Petri out.